Ciao Milanisti and welcome back, and I'm so excited, man. Look, season's about to start, proper season. No offense to pre-season, but that's friendly fixtures. Can't take them too seriously. It's obviously a good time to stretch the legs out, get the players' fitness levels up. But now it's crunch time. We've got the first game of the season this weekend at home against Udinese. I'm really excited. There's one thing seeing the boys back in friendly action. There's another thing when it's sort of competitive matches. And we've got a big test. So, first game of the season, Udinese at home. It's a game that they're kind of like a bogey side. We seem to draw against them more than winning in recent years. My mind thinks back to the first game of, I think, the 2019 season under Marco Giampaolo. We lost the first game of the season there against Udinese, and that's when he sort of, we don't have to, the less we talk about that, the better. Anyway, this season, obviously a different picture. We're coming off the back of being the Scudetto champions. Obviously, that's massive. And we've got a good signing under our belts. We've not had to sell any players. Of course, we've lost Kessie and Romagnoli. We've brought in Origi, Pobega and Yassinadli have come back from their respective loan deals. We've bought Florenzi and Macias outright. And of course, we've signed, the most important player probably from the whole market would be Charlie De Ketelaere for 35 million euros, however you sort of break down the structure of the deal. Really exciting. We've added some good quality to the attack. We know the market's still not finished. We still have to physically replace hopefully some bodies within the midfield and defensive positions, and I'm praying there might be a last-minute attempt for Hakim Ziyech. But yeah, we're really just going to crack on with sort of preparing for the season. But before I get underway with that, there is some news to talk about. Tommaso Pobega, obviously we just spoke about him there, coming back from his loan deal from Torino, has extended his contract with Milan until 2027. So I believe that added 2 more years onto his previous deal, which now locks him in for the next 5 years. So really good, because obviously it's good to have Milan, Primavera, Italian players within the squad, and I'm hoping this sort of contract shows that the amount of faith that we have in the player. And who knows, we might see some sort of breakout performance from this season. Although I'm expecting him to really slowly embed himself into the side. It's hard to sort of take away Bennacer and Tonali off the sort of first position throne, but there definitely is opportunity for him. And other news as well, which should be coming in very soon, if not by the time this video gets uploaded, is Fikayo Tomori should also be extending his contract until 2027. So similar to Pobega, deal currently runs out until 2025. Gets another 2 years onto that deal. Really good, because obviously Tomori, different to Pobega. Tomori is probably one of our best players. Certainly our best defender right now based off form. He's going to have a lot of suitors from England. Obviously, being from here, the hype's starting to build up about him. You've got English fans saying that he should be picked for the first team national side. So it's only be a matter of time before obviously they come knocking and those clubs come knocking, and having him obviously locked in for a longer term future will be good. Based off if we get any good, offers that might increase that. Who knows? I can't say Tomori's going to be with us forever. I'd like to think so. I'm currently wearing him on the back of my shirt right now. But at least if he does go with him under contract until 2027, it will take a humongous bid for ourselves to pry him away from us. So really exciting news coming out of the club. Of course, we want to see some news based off the renewals of Rafael Leao and Bennacer. Hopefully that comes soon. I dread to think we go into everyone goes into the World Cup and Leao still not extend his contract beyond 2024, because you just feel like Mendes will be doing something a little bit dirty there with all eyes on him. So anyway, guys, let's get into the meat of today's video, which is just talking about the preparation for the season, how I see Milan doing, and my sort of predictions going into it all. So I've broken down my predictions for Milan's season this year into sort of categories, very similar to what you've seen people doing online. We've done it ourselves on Sempre Milan, but I'm doing it. This is officially my opinions of how I feel like we'll do, some of our players will do, and sort of how I can see it all going, really. So the first thing, obviously most important, is where will we finish in this Serie A? And I'm saying first place. We are the reigning champions. We've not lost. We've not had to sell anyone of massive value from our squad. I feel like we're going into the season with great momentum. The best player in the league. We've added significantly into our attack, which was probably our biggest weakness last season, and something that we can increase and develop most with CDK, Yassinadli coming in, and who knows, maybe a late addition there as well. So I'm really hopeful. We still got the best defence in the league. We still have the best keeper in the league. We have the best left back in the league. We have some of the best midfielders in the league. I feel like if we keep this momentum up and we have that heart, we kept Ibra for that sort of continuous pressure to be at such an elite level, I feel like we're going to deliver again this season. I feel like we will get first place. So that answers the first one. Champions League finish. I've put quarterfinals, and that's obviously pending our group stage, which we'll find out at the end of this month. Pending we don't get another group of death, I do feel like we will certainly get out of the group stage. And then, of course, you never know with how the draw happens from that point onwards, from the round of 16. You know, I feel like we can maybe just we can shape the competition up a little bit, and I feel like we can get our way into the quarterfinals. So that's really my sort of stretch goal for that competition. It's a modest upgrade to obviously finishing 4th place in the group from last season. In the Coppa Italia finish, I feel like we should get to the final at least. When you really look at the bracket of the Coppa Italia this season, we're on the same side as Napoli, Roma, and Fiorentina. That's obviously if they all get through their respective ties before that, and ourselves included. We have stayed away from Inter Milan, Juventus, Atalanta, and Lazio. Teams we usually kind of play on the same route anyway, so I just feel like we're looking at that side. Napoli lost a significant amount of players. Roma, I don't buy into the hype. And Fiorentina, I feel like we got their number in recent years, especially with Vlahovic gone. I feel like we should be looking at that sort of side of the draw and consider ourselves as potential finalists, certainly, and go from there. I feel like we should be finalists, if not winning the cup. Top goal scorer, all competitions. This is all competitions, by the way, but I sort of peel off these stats based off the players, not just Serie A. Top goal scorer, all competitions, I put Giroud. And the reason I put Giroud, obviously, he was our joint top goal scorer last season. Big reason for it. Hopefully, sort of, there was a few times he got a few injuries at the start of the last season with the whole back injury. Hopefully he's not going to this season with similar injuries. I feel like he's fine. He's in great form this pre-season. Another big thing as well, who's taking the penalties now with Kessie gone? Giroud took a few last season. Obviously, Theo Hernandez took a few. CDK took a few in pre-season, I think in that recent friendly. That's the big question mark, and I feel like, I'm not saying we get loads of penalties because we didn't get a load for 17 games towards the end of last season, but they do contribute to your stats. Just ask Ciro Immobile that. And I do feel like Giroud might be taking those penalties and those adding them to his stats. So kind of like you take away those penalties away from Kessie, or maybe Ibra or Theo, and you add them to Giroud's sort of count, and I do feel like he is your top goal scorer because of that. Top assists in all competitions, Rafael Leao. Maybe at a sort of close second would be Theo Hernandez, but Rafael Leao, just the way he was at the end of last season, significantly contributes to the attack, just like cutting down to the byline and putting that ball in there. Now we have another presence for opposition teams to worry about in CDK, not just Olivier Giroud or say Origi if he starts. Yeah, I just feel like he'll be racking up the assists this season. The MVP, I'm going for Rafael Leao again. The way his momentum is going, the way his escalation in his career is going, I just feel like, you can't stop the kid right now. He is big time. He is honestly big time. He's the difference maker. He is, who all right backs have nightmares about. He's what basically won us the league last year, and I feel like what is going to be what wins us the league this season. So definitely the MVP will be Rafael Leao for me, however it ends up. The best signing / returnee, and that will obviously include CDK, Origi, Pobega, Yacine Adli, and I will kind of include Florenzi and Macias within that sort of compilation of players. For me, it's got to be CDK. I kind of want to say as a dark horse, say Yacine Adli. Of course I do. I feel like I've been really impressed by him this season. But CDK is that one player on the other end of the pitch when it comes down to finishing the chances we desperately needed. And we need someone to take the load off Rafael Leao, also the striker. We need that third person who's going to contribute to goals and assists in the final third. And I think he is that, and he is going to be a massive factor in regards to that. So that's why I feel like he'll be our best signing this season. Biggest surprise player? I was going to put Rebic because I thought Rebic is due a redemption season, but I'm going to go for Origi. And the reason why is because I do feel like he's very underrated as a signing. Everyone's sort of screaming out for us to sign that right winger, for us to sign the Kessie replacements, for us to sign the centre-back. Obviously, CDK's big news with the whole the transfer saga and the length of time it took, and obviously the money involved. Origi's just kind of scoped under the radar. He's not had pre-season really to show what he's about, and I feel like fans are sort of forgetting that he's actually in the club and what he can actually add to this side. So I do feel like he will be the biggest underrated, biggest surprise player this season. Most bookings, I've put Sandro Tonali. He got the most last season. I think he'll get the most again. Obviously, Benacer and Theo Hernandez are good options there, but I'll go for Sandro Tonali in that regards. Outfield player with the most minutes, Theo Hernandez. Obviously, this outfield player. Obviously, Mike Mignon will be playing every game if possible, but Theo Hernandez, just because we don't really have a reliable left back, and he keeps himself fit a lot, so I just can't see him missing many minutes, missing many games. He plays 90 minutes at a time. He's an absolute animal, and I think he'll get the most minutes. And the amount of goals Ibra, Giroud and Origi will get in all competitions. Last season, Ibra and Giroud got 22 goals. And obviously, we've added another centre-forward to that mix, so there's 3 players now. Ibra's not back until 2023, so he does miss about 15 to 20 games for the start of this season. I'm going for 28 to 30 goals between the 3 of them. Obviously, Ibra will be at the sort of bottom end of that, coming on, maybe getting a few goals here or there. Yeah, obviously, it kind of falls back to the whole Giroud argument of him being my top goal scorer. If you give him the penalties, that's going to add to his stats. And I do feel like Origi's got something to offer as well, especially in a sort of 8 to 10 goal contribution, hopefully even more as the season goes on. So I'm really hoping for 28 goals minimum between those 3 strikers. That would be ideal. I'm actually boiling right now. This is like 30 degrees weather in London. I feel like I'm in Barbados. That's a little London joke for everyone that knows Mo the comedian. I'm actually boiling right now. I feel like I should be abroad in like some sort of swimming pool, but going off topic here. Lastly, I want to talk about going into the Udinese game. What I feel the team should be. I think there was a comment from last week saying like, what the team should be for next week or how we should line up. How do you envisage it? So I'm going to kind of go through it and what I feel like the starting lineup will be based off logic. Of course, also slightly what I want it to be. If you were to obviously believe the predicted lineups from Gazzetta or the sort of newspapers, it's not too far from it. But there is one player I do feel like I want to swap out. So I feel like we'll be expecting this lineup in goal. Obviously, Mike Mignon, the defence selects itself. Davide Calabria, Kalulu, Tomori and Theo Hernandez will be the back line of, it sticks as that. In the midfield, Benacer, Krunic, I do believe will come in for Sandro Tonali, who is injured and we're not quite sure the length or the extent of the injury. I'm hoping for as little as possible, but certainly Krunic does a good job. He started the first game of the season last year, and I feel like he'd do a really good job with the chemistry he has with Benacer going way back to Empoli days. The front 4 really is where the selection, not headaches, but sort of questions come into account. On the right, I do feel like Macias will start because Macias had a really good pre-season with his numbers of goals. Not his biggest fan personally, but I do feel like against Udinese, who are probably going to have a little bit of a deep block, we are going to need someone else on that right side who's very direct. And I'm hoping Macias can take the opportunity. At the left side, obviously Rafael Leao. Rebic has had a very inconsistent pre-season. Leao is just, there's not even a question about it. Leao needs to start this game over Rebic. Up front, you might say who's going to start between, is it Giroud because he's just had this kind of like minor injury. Origi's just come back into training as well, so he'll be available, but probably most likely off the bench. Will Rebic start as a false 9? That's a good question there, but I do feel like we'll go for Giroud because we need a physical presence against their sort of back 3 against Udinese. And the most intriguing one is the cam. Who's going to start a centre attack in midfield? Brahim Diaz, Yassin Adli, or CDK? CDK, for the benefit of his sort of development, he's only really been at the club for like a week and a half now. I think it's a little bit early. I think he will come off the bench logically, just by the Italian sort of coaches, very pragmatic, and they sort of don't like to throw their player right into the fire unless they really think he's like ready to go. And then so it goes down to Yassin Adli or Brahim Diaz. Do you want a very small dribbler of the ball, or do you want Adli, who's obviously got great passing range? I certainly prefer Adli. I want Adli to play this game over Diaz, certainly start it, because in those final third moments, and what I've seen this pre-season is Adli it's got a very cool head in that sort of that last third of the pitch, especially in the our opponent's defensive phase of the pitch. Very cool head to pick that right pass. And Diaz hasn't got that. It's like sort of very similar to Salamakers. He's a good dribbler of the ball in a sense of like, running at players, and I wish he did a little bit more this season. But I do expect Pioli, a little bit of me, Pioli is going to start Diaz because he just likes familiarity. And maybe have Adli and CDK come off the bench. But personally, I would like to see Adli start. So that's it for today, guys. I've kind of gone through everything, my predictions, a little bit of news, obviously, and who I feel like should be starting, or will be starting at least, against the first game against Udinese. I'm really excited right now. I just want to get this season under the way. Let's hope for that win. First win we need. We've been sort of getting them back-to-back the previous years. So until next time, guys, let's get those 3 points. And Forza Milan!